Hello, hello, and welcome to Wicked Journals. I am Eileen, and I am getting ready to start the new year. And so I want to make a journal slash planner, and it's going to be a work in progress as I go because I'm making it myself this year, which in the past I've used commercial planners. And they just don't fit my needs. And so I absolutely love the fabric cover journals and planners that 49 Dragonflies makes. And I will link one of her videos below where she makes one of her journals. They're just fabulous. And she starts with a paper bag. And so I'm going to make one kind of like hers, but mine is going to be an all-in-one because I don't want 4 or 5 different planners and then a journal and then a thought book and a blah, blah, blah. So I might have to make a new one of these every month. I'm not sure. So I have my paper bag. I took the handles off and I cut the bottom off. So it's just a big flat piece here. I've chosen my fabrics. And so this floral is going to be the outside cover. And then this buffalo black and white check is going to be my inside cover. And I like my journals to be 6x9. And so this is plenty of fabric to cover that and also have a little flap closure, which will be nice to keep it closed. And because it's going to have all the things. So, and then I also designed and printed out a bunch of inserts that I think I'm going to want in my journal. And you can see me figuring out how big my cover needs to be here. And I just did a 26-27. I like to have a year at a glance just in case. This is a kit from 49 Dragonflies, and these are printed. I printed these out on pretty light cardstock just because I had a huge package of it and I wasn't going to use it for the original intended purpose. So I thought, well, I'm just going to use this stuff up. And so this kit, I will link it down below for you, but it's from 49 Dragonflies, and I think it's called Wildflower or something or other. But she has a bunch of kits, and they're absolutely beautiful. And so I just printed this one out to get me started in January. And so it's blank. I stamped it here with my, I don't know, I think it's like 15 character stamper, and you can make it say whatever you want. It has letters, numbers, and like $, hashtag. It has some punctuation symbols as well. I'll link this down below for you as well with an affiliate link in case you want to buy it. But I used that for the January here, and then I didn't want to change it for every single day, so I just wrote those in by hand. And then how this will work is this will be on the left side, and then this decorative page will be on the right side of my spread, but then I may put one of the other printouts in there that I've designed to go in my planner. So her kit comes with 7 sheets for, it was less than $5. It was like €4, which is $4.71 US, I believe. So I just printed this out, and then this particular kit also comes with a habit tracker. So I've got some things written in there, and then she does a step tracker as well, which is one of my goals that I'm working on, is to be more active and more healthy. You can see I've got breakfast, lunch, dinner because I don't normally eat 3 meals a day, so I need to try to do that. And then she has these weekly layouts, and in each one is different. It is not the same like 4 weeks. There's these, and so that's 3 and then 4 and 5. So she gives you 5 different weekly, and then I just again hand wrote the numbers of the days here, but they come with the days of the week starting with Monday printed on there for you by Barbara. So, and then again the weekly spread is going to have the week over here for all my doodly doos that I need to doodly do, and then over here on the right it will have probably my to-do list, which is, I'll show it to you real quick. Well, we'll get to it in a minute, but it's probably going to have my to-do list and just notes over there. So that's those. That's going to get me started off in January. I have a sleep tracker as well, and it just, these are the hours across the top, and then did I feel rested? And so this one's for January, and these that I designed, they have, excuse me, 2 on a page. So you can go all the way through 2 months, you know, just printing off one sheet. And then I have some, this is, I'm thinking, is going to go on the other side of my month page. So this can just go right over here with the important dates for January. And I'm going to trim it as close as I can to the box so that some of this beautiful background shows up there. That's my plan at the moment. Like I said, this is going to be a work in progress as I go along, and I might add, take out, go like this is a waste of space, or you know, whatever. I read a lot, and I like to do book reviews, and so I made these little reviews. So whenever I finish a book, I can fill this out and hinge it into my journal, or if I have a pocket, I can just put that in there. And I have a little printer that will print like a little tiny image, and so I like to put the book cover on there. So, and this one I like to say when I started it, when I finished it, quotes, because I always love, I'll be like, oh my gosh, that was an amazing quote, or whatever. And then I like to say whether it was a paper version, like a physical version, the audio or digital, and then the rating at the bottom, of course. And so I printed out several of those. And then I just did some dot grids for mind mapping and doodles or whatever. And then this is what I was saying would go on my weekly layout. Let me show you what that would look like. So with one of these from Berber's Kit on the left, and then on the right, again, trimming it out to show as much of the background as possible. Or I might just hinge it so that it can, you know, do that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But this will have my like to-dos for the week, and then notes, like if I want to write about something that happened, or, you know, whatever. So I'm thinking that's how that's going to go, at least for now, till I change my mind. So I printed out several of those. This, because I also have a business. This is a social media content planner, and so I bought it from a lady, her name's Angie Gessler, something like that. I don't know if she still sells them, but I bought them several years in a row, and they kind of repeated over the days unless it was a holiday or something. And so I just kind of typed this up to have a little quick reference for that, to help me know, like, hey, with ideas of what to post on social media and so forth. And then I just have some notes down here. I plan to write specific holidays or days to remember to post something special down here. And so that's what those are for. I did January and February. I have the templates set up for the rest of the year, but I was done typing at that moment, so I just did January and February. Vitals. I'm supposed to be tracking my blood pressure and my blood sugar, and give it to my doctor every month. And so I just made this to help me remember to do that. And I just printed several out because who knows how many I'll use. I have my financial record, so I have the green section as income, the pink section as expenses. Obviously the expenses are going to need more rows than the income. However, I do get a bunch of like little tiny deposits sometimes, several of them, and I just like to track that. So I just wrote January 26 up here. Again, there's 2 on a page. So these are my to be reads. So I'm going to just write my list of books that I want to read or should read or whatever. And then this is books that I have read. And so I would expect that each of these that are on the books read list would have a book review that I showed you earlier. So those are my printouts that I have prepared for this. And what we're going to do today in this particular video is I'm going to prep the cover, and you guys are going to come along with me. So we're going to start with the paper bag. And like I said, I like 6x9, and I'm thinking the spine for this is going to be about 2 inches. I think in Barbara's journals that she makes, she said she kind of does a 3-inch, and each of her journals does 4 months. But she's not tracking as much stuff as I am, so like I said, I'm not sure. I might need to make a new one every month. I don't know. But we'll see how it goes. So I think I'm going to go with a 2-inch spine and see how that goes, just because 2 inches is here. 3 inches seems like really big to me. So I'm just going to, like, as an example, here's the Alice in Wonderland journal. I just had it sitting on my desk right now. It's kind of alligator mouthed a little bit, but this spine is like not even 2 inches. So I feel like this is a hefty size journal, and I feel like 3 inches is just really big. So we'll see how that goes. So what we're gonna do is, with a 2-inch spine and 6 inches plus 6 inches is 12, and then plus 2 inches for the spine is 14, and then I want just a, you know, a little wiggle room, and so we're going to do 14.5 wide, and then we're going to do 9 inches tall plus 1/4 inch for wiggle room. So this 1/2 inch wiggle room is 6 1/4, 6 1/4 plus 2, if that makes sense. Okay, so we want to cut our paper bag to be 14.5 by 9 1/4. So what I'm going to start with is, this is way too wide for my paper cutter. So I'm just going to cut that down a little bit first. And so we're going to go 9 1/4. So I want this, as you can see, this is not cut straight. So I'm just going to come down here, and I'm just going to cut off a bit. So yeah, so we're going to come to 12 and, well, so I'm going to cut it like right in half here, and that should be enough for us to work with to make our cover. All right, so I'm just going to take this extra piece, and I have a little bin over here that has paper bags and paper bag parts, so I'll just set that over there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this. I don't crease this tightly, because you don't need it creased tightly. I just want it to fit. I want it to have straight edges, and I want it to fit in my paper cutter. So we're going to make this a lot more dialed in a minute, but I just wanted to get this down to a reasonable size to work with. So I'm just going to use my guillotine cutter, guillotine, whatever you want to cut it. Whatever you want to cut it, whatever you want to call it, rather. And I am just going to, on that folded edge, just cut it so that we have a straight edge to work with. And then I am going to do the same thing on this side over here. So I just want to make sure that the top is lined up, and then this bottom is lined up pretty good. And I'm just going to put it in there and cut that straight line. Okay. All right, I'm gonna toss this in the recycle. And then we have a straighter piece to start with. Okay, so I recently made a journal out of a packaging box, and you could see the color through the cover fabric that I have on the cover. And so I want to make sure to put this to the inside. But I'm also going to trim off as much as possible when I cut it to my size. So we wanted 14.5 inches. So we've got 12 here. And then we want 2.5. So see, it's barely just gonna have some of that red F there. And that's perfect. And so I'm just gonna do like 3 measurements at that 14.5 just to make sure that I get it correct. Okay, and here's the 12, and another 2.5 is 14.5. And so now I'm just gonna connect those so I know where my 14.5 is. And down through the bottom as well. Okay. All right, so I am going to cut that by hand. Not being super careful. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to be generally the size that we need it for the size journal that I want. So there's that. I might use that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, and so now we need it 9 1/4 this way. And to do that, we can use one of the larger paper cutters. So here we should have 14.5, and then here it's going to be bigger than my paper cutter again. So we're just going to fold that and take it to 9 1/4 and cut that excess off. Okay. Now, we should have, see, there's barely any of that red there, so that's nice. I'm happy with that. So we should now have a 14.5, so 12, okay, 14.5 by 9 1/4. And that looks like what we have. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna basically decoupage this on here. Now this is just regular cheap fabric. I think I actually got this fabric at Walmart in like a fat quarter pack or something. And then my mom ironed this interfacing on here for me. So that's how you can make your own book cloth. If you didn't know that, you can just put some lightweight interfacing and iron it on, and it makes it a pretty, sturdy fabric. But with the cheaper fabrics, you can still see through it. I don't know if you can tell with that lighting, but you can still see through it sometimes. So if you don't want to see anything through that, you're going to want to take that into consideration, because if you have something with a bunch of color, you could put gesso on it, white paint, you could whitewash it, whatever. There's lots of options to be able to cover that and not have it seen on the other side. But if you have thicker fabric, that will solve that problem too. So what we're going to do is we're just going to glue this guy on here with just a little bit left over. We really don't need much left over because we're going to have fabric on the inside. We're not wrapping this, we're just covering it, and this will be our little flappy do to cover it. And then we're going to have this on the inside. So we're going to glue this just directly on here, and then we're just going to kind of trim it, leaving a little tiny bit, because those will fray a little bit as we use it. Not so much with because we have the interfacing on here. It won't give you those frayed edges that a lot of people like, but it will fray a little bit. So I just want it to stick over the edge a little. And actually I'm actually gonna glue it on like this to save as much of this as possible, because we might want you know, a strap on the closure, or we might want to make a bookmark out of that or whatever. So I'm just gonna use what I need and not too much. So I have some decoupage glue in a little container, decoupage glue. And this is just PVA with a little bit of water. So it's this pH neutral PVA. You can get it on Amazon. It's by Line Co. I will put a link to that as well in the description box. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to paint this on like Picasso and just adhere that fabric to the paper bag. And I just got these, like, these are synthetic brushes, and I prefer these for glue because the natural bristles, they do not stand up well to multiple uses with glue. Okay, so we are going to paint this on here. So I'm just gonna get some glue, and we're literally just gonna slap it on. And what I'm gonna do is, oops, my fibers are coming off on there. We can't have that. Get out of there. There we go. We don't want the glue to dry before we put it on the fabric. So I am going to put the glue on half, and then we're gonna attach it to the fabric, and then we're gonna do the other half, just to make sure we don't get some funky business going on with our glue. Okay, so that's probably fine. So I'm just gonna flip it over and put it down, and I'm gonna smooth that out, making sure as much as possible that we don't have bubbles and wrinkles and all of that. So I'm just gonna flip it over and smooth from this side as well. Okay, and we're gonna flip it back over. I'm just gonna pull this back like that, and we're just gonna continue to add some glue. And it doesn't matter if you get it on this other piece, because we are gonna put that inside fabric on there as well. Now, I have a little tiny sewing machine that I got for like 60 bucks off Amazon, and I do use it for paper crafting, and it's fine. It's fine. It does not have the cute little stitch that Natasha uses on treasure books, and so I'm a little salty about that, but I just can't bring myself to buy a whole new sewing machine yet. I don't know. I'll probably get there. So I'm just flattening this out as much as possible. All right, there we go. But as I was saying, I probably will sew around after this is dried, like tomorrow or whatever. But if you don't, you can sew by hand. Just do like a straight stitch around the edges would be fine. But you don't have to sew it. The glue should be plenty sturdy enough for you to not have to sew it. If you don't have a sewing machine or don't want to sew it or whatever. This is lifting a little bit, so I'm just gonna just kind of tack that down a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna trim this, and it would be kind of cute if you used pinking shears, because it would have that, you know, ziggy-zaggy edge. But I'm gonna use these guys, and remember I wanted to do a flap here, so I'm not sure if I want it to be square or rounded right now. So I am just going to trim around this side and then just up the sides a little bit. this. And you, like I said, you can leave it over a little bit. I don't even know if you can see that over there. There we go. You can, you know, you don't have to cut it right up to the bag. You can if you want to. It's totally your preference. I mean, it's, you know, it's your book, it's your journal. Do what you want. So I'm just gonna, and this is not even close to dry yet. It's still pretty wet, so it's gonna flippy flop. Here we go. And like I said, I'm just gonna trim. I'm making this look super awkward. Okay, there we go. And there's that. And then over here, of course, I'm also going to trim here. So turn it this way and start trimming. Okay, and I'm going to save this piece just in case. And you can also take that interfacing off even if you've already ironed it on there, and it still gives it a little bit of stiffness and durability. Okay, so theoretically this is how my journal's going to go. Okay, and we're going to attach this to the inside, and so it's just going to be the same thing we did on the outside. We're going to do the same exact thing here. So we are going to just slap it on there and glue to our heart's content. So I'm going to put my glue on here. And this actually didn't go too bad, so I'm just going to cover the whole thing instead of stopping halfway through. Because with this brush is so big that it's just, you know, makes quick work of covering the paper. All right, so we're just going to do that, and then I'm going to swish it out of the way, and we're going to plop it on this guy. And straighten that out. Okay. And I've got glue all over my table, so make it a wipe before we finish that one. Alright, just gonna set that guy to the side. I'm just gonna wipe up this glue on here. And this pink thing is just, it's just one of those desk mats. And it was like 13, 14 bucks on Amazon, and it works great. It's been around the block a little, as you can tell. I love using my glass mat to craft on, but it has a really bad glare with all my lighting for filming, so we're just gonna do that. This paintbrush is gonna go in to be rinsed. Okay, and so we'll just set this guy over here while we finish what we're doing. All right, so we have this now, and I apparently did not cut that side very straight over there, but that's okay. Woo, it's making my eyes go cross right there. All right, so we have this on here. I'm gonna trim it up, and then we're gonna let it dry overnight, and then we're gonna do the signatures. So I'm gonna let this dry, and I'll see you in the next segment.